Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Fox Sports Radio host, NFL fantasy expert. Pleasure to welcome in Michael Harmon. Michael, how are you this afternoon, man?
What's going on, fellas? The early rounds of the fantasy kingdom have begun. It's that time of year.
Yes. How early is too early for folks to obsessively jump on the websites like foxsports.com and just running through mock drafts, just mock draft after mock draft, Michael?
Well, it's far less dangerous than a lot of other vices you may have. Not to say that there aren't some dollars and cents and maybe loss of common sense that come along with it. But, I'm in the middle of one of these industry drafts. I'm already in round 8. And I already hate my team. And I'm like, all right, that guy's going to get hurt. That guy's going to get hurt. This is going to be the year that the receivers in front of that guy don't get hurt. So all of that. But, it's a great little thought process. And you find yourself wandering around trying to figure out exactly, where we're headed 2023. It's a really strange NFL season. The running back position being the mess that it is. But then just so many quarterbacks where it's are they healthy? Do they get rid of some of the problems from last year? And because I'm a big nerd, I look at all the and maybe because I'm a little bit beefy. I mean, you guys got the video. The good folks out there will see it. Is the fact that I love offensive linemen. I mean, the big dancing bears are really where my mind goes.
That's I guess my number one question for you, Michael, is just basic strategy as far as a draft is concerned. Is Ramie and I were just talking off air here a little bit about what is the basic strategy? Do you feel like you one of those guys that feels like, hey, I have to take 3 running backs right out of the gate, or is it more just contingent upon where you fall in the pecking order and you go by a feel? Maybe if you have, as Ramie said, the 9th pick and a bunch of good running backs are gone, maybe you take one of the top quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's really the shift, right? Because more leagues are now point per reception. So you do have, those running backs that give you both sides of the equation, still being more or less the workhorse as well as a big-time receiver, right? In the draft that I'm in, I had the number 1 pick, which is the worst place in all of the world, because you feel like you have to take Christian McCaffrey, and as soon as you hit submit, you're like, undo. So because he went through healthy last year, right? And we don't know who the quarterback is, but you assume based on the player, based on the squad, whatever, you're good. It's more running backs and receivers. Quarterbacks come in a little later. I mean, unless you have a skewed scoring breakdown to where maybe there's more advantageous opportunity for a Mahomes or Josh Allen. But the difference between QB1 and QB12 is going to be far less stark than WR1 and WR36 or running back 1 to running back 24. So those first couple of running backs, and the names, they all come off the board pretty fast. But mixed therein are Chase and Justin Jefferson and all those elite receivers. Travis Kelce makes an appearance usually in the first round of drafts. Although I don't want to draft him anymore because his 15 minutes for me are up. I'm tired of seeing him. I love him as a player, but I don't need any more quips. That's my job.
Talking with Michael Harmon of Fox Sports, fantasy expert over there. You mentioned the upheaval at the running back position. Let's say fantasy drafts start to get going, and these contract situations with the Josh Jacobs and the Saquon Barkleys of the world are still dragging out, and they're still threatening holding out regular season games. What does that do to their draft stock in your eyes?
I don't know that it's going to change it much. At least where they're drafted, I think we all would believe common sense comes in because the couple of outlier players that did the holdout or bailout realize how much money they left on the table. I use the analogy. I don't know how much you guys love Ocean's 11.
Yeah, okay. I'm a fan.
So my favorite character in that is Elliot Gould, right? Running around with the gold lame and the big sunglasses. Yep. And when they're talking about the heist, he goes through all the different points. Remember, you're still in the middle of the blanking desert. Well, you can do all of these things. You can hold out. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. At the end of the day, you're still a running back. Right. Next year, that's not changing. And you're a year older, and there's another crop coming out of college football, and there's other guys who have gotten an opportunity. Longer you hold out, the only thing it tells me is, one, you're going to get practice reps for these other players who might now factor into the game plan, who offer a little bit different, thereby muting your numbers. The other, as we talk about a lot, soft tissue injuries and the potential that you're not coming in fully in shape. As much as you may be working out, Ezekiel Elliott, remember he was in Mexico and whatever, he came in kind of out of shape and it took a while. Not to say that Barkley's going to come out of shape, but he's had an injury history. What is not training at your full capacity with your squad? What does that open up? So what I would say is they'll probably still be drafted in their normal slots, maybe missing a slot or two, but still first-round picks. But what I would be doing is if I take them, I'm either grabbing their handcuff or I'm making sure I'm shoring up that running back position a little bit deeper, knowing that you probably added a higher coefficient to the injury possibility.
Where are you at on some deep sleepers here? So give me somebody who I can get in round 9 or 10 that everyone's sleeping on.
You know what? I just grabbed Quentin Johnston, and I mentioned him. I'm out here in Los Angeles. Got a lot of people that work with the Chargers. I got to do full disclosure. So there might be a little bit of the bias from what I cover out here. But Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are two guys who, when they're on the field, are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But both of them will miss time, right? Mike Williams doesn't complete seasons. Keenan Allen is now, 12 years in the league. Austin Eckler's salty, so he might do an operation shutdown once in a while. By the way, the running back position, he's one of the poster children as to why they're in the quandary they are. Undrafted guy, goes to the top of the heap, and now he's complaining he's underpaid. You're part of the reason the running back position is where it is. But I think Johnston's a guy who's going to play a big role. Kellen Moore comes in as their OC. They changed out the trainer. I did we got the Hollywood strikes. I didn't quite go to the sandwich boards and picket signs, but I did make a lot of noise about the problems they had in the training staff. They get Rashawn Slater, obligatory Northwestern thing for me to mix in. So their offensive line will be better, and we're expecting big things out of Herbert. So Johnston's the guy. And then Kansas City, you can roll the dice and pick one of those receivers. Most people are going towards Sky Moore and throwing off the rest of the receiving core. I think there's some value to be had there.
You mentioned some of the weirdness and wildness of this particular NFL season. The biggest change is at the quarterback position, and Aaron Rodgers going from Green Bay to the Jets. What do you think that does for him? And like you said, the difference between QB1 and QB12, maybe not that great. What does it do for their skill position players on that offense?
Yeah, when you look at Garrett Wilson, he's a guy that people were loving regardless of quarterbacks. Kind of like that San Francisco thing. All right, someone will fit the suit like Johnny Bravo in the old Brady Bunch.
Johnny Bravo reference. There you
50.
go.
I'm showing my age there.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike. Hey, Carol.
Yeah. So Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall coming back off the injury. I mean, you've got some players there that'll get their run. Rodgers is going off as about the 10th quarterback on average or thereabouts because it's a step up in class, right? Going into that division. Because even with familiarity in the North, he ruled, right? As a Chicago kid growing up and a Bears fan, I mean, he has partial ownership of my soul. So we look at it going to the AFC East. It's a much harder 6 games divisionally there. I think the guy on the other side, Jordan Love's a guy that's being slept on. Been there for 3 years. You got a division that is there for the taking. Couple of receivers that got some pretty good experience last year. Aaron Jones took a pay cut to come back with A.J. Dillon, and that defense will be better. I think he puts up some numbers. So talk about a sleeper QB. He's an option.
That's Michael Harmon, Fox Sports radio host, NFL fantasy expert. And check out his website, swollendome.com. And our guest for the last few minutes with the fantasy expertise. Michael, appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you again soon down the road. Be good.
And he joins us on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Coming up next.